When I bought my first home, I thought I was stepping into the peaceful, picket fence version of the American dream. The neighborhood was clean, quiet, and came with the Friendly Homeowners Association. What I didn't realize was that the HOA president Karen McDonald was less of a friendly neighbor and more of a self-appointed dictator. It started small. The first letter arrived 3 days after I moved in. Violation 001, trash bins visible from the street. Fair enough, I thought. I moved them behind the gate. That's when I knew I had a problem named Karen. Karen was the type who wielded her clipboard like a sword and her HOA handbook like holy scripture. She'd strut down the street every morning, snapping pictures of people's flower beds and barking at kids who rode their bikes too fast. I tried to reason with her once. Big mistake. She stood in my driveway, oversized sunglasses reflecting my face back at me, and said, "Rules are rules. If you can't follow them, perhaps this community isn't for you." I laughed it off until the certified letter arrived. The HOA was suing me for continued violations and non-compliance, and they wanted me evicted from my own home. My stomach dropped. I'd never been to court in my life, but I wasn't backing down. I gathered every email, every photo, every absurd notice. She'd sent me over 50 of them. My lawyer took one look and said, "She's overstepped. Let's have some fun." When the day came, the courtroom was small, but the tension was thick enough to slice. Karen sat at the plaintiff's table with her stack of binders, smirking like she'd already won. She went first, passionately describing how I had disrespected the integrity of the neighborhood. She listed my offenses, like crimes: my door color, my lawn height, the unsanctioned bird feeder in my backyard. Then my lawyer stood up, cool as ice. "Your Honor," he said, "we have evidence that Mrs. McDonald has issued over 600 violation notices in the past year. That's more than one per day, and not a single one has been approved by the full HOA board, as required by their own bylaws." Karen's smile faltered. He continued, flipping through photos of her trespassing onto people's property to take pictures. "In fact, Your Honor, she has repeatedly entered private yards without permission. That's not enforcement, it's harassment." The judge leaned back in his chair, eyebrows raised. Then he looked at Karen and said, deadpan, "Mrs. McDonald, are you aware that you cannot evict someone from a home they legally own?" The silence was glorious. Karen sputtered something about community standards, but the judge cut her off. "Case dismissed, and I strongly suggest the HOA review its leadership." I couldn't help it, I smiled. A week later, Karen resigned for personal reasons. The neighborhood threw a barbecue to celebrate. As I sat on my porch that evening watching kids play and neighbors laugh, I realized something. Sometimes standing your ground isn't just about a house, it's about reminding people like Karen that power only works if you let them have it. And my blue front door? Still the same shade.